going to speak on distal radius fractures. Distal part of the radius is the most common fracture site in childhood, 20 to 30%. The main principle in the treatment of these fractures is a non-invasive conservative approach. I can't emphasize this enough. In cases where there's a non-optimal reposition of the fragments of the fracture, surgical techniques are used to treat these fractures. They can lead to complications related to maintaining reduction, achieving union, and growth disturbances. What do we know about the growth potential? Everybody has already spoken enough about it, but we do know that 60% of the growth of the radius happens distally. Facial closures, 14 to 16 years. There's a very, very high potential for remodeling. And what is acceptable reduction? This is from Rockwood. Younger the child, we can accept more angulation, both in the sagittal and in the coronal plane. As the child gets older, we accept less and less. Okay, there are reports about coronal plane angulation correcting even in older children, as Sandeep pointed out earlier, but I'll leave that for another day. Classification in the facial injuries, they can be dorsally displaced, they can be volarly displaced. Type of facial pattern is usually a type 2 Salter-Harris type. Sorry, what am I doing? This is an 8-year-old with a distal radius injury, delayed presentation. Should it be remanipulated? So Rank said long back, 40 years ago, that repeated efforts at reduction do nothing more than grate the plate away. These injuries unite quickly. Attempts to correct malposition after a week are liable to do more damage to the plate than good. And that still holds good. And displacement of the epiphysis does not persist. All displacements remodel well within a year. This was said almost 90 years ago. So all these things are good enough for you that do not touch them when they come late. Salter-Harris 1 and 2, less than 10 years angulation you can accept. Children greater than 10 years, up to 15 degrees of angulation generally acceptable. Acceptable contact, 50% of apposition with at least 1 year of growth remaining. So that's what, this is an X-ray, don't touch it, don't do anything. 3 weeks later, it will heal. 3 months later, you can already see it is remodeling. This is a 12-year-old girl, older child with this Salter-Harris type 2. This was the reduced position, still showed that distal radius was looking dorsally. And at 3 years follow-up, it was still looking dorsally, but clinically she had a good result. Metaphyseal, the biomechanical patterns, you can have torus, you can have bicortical green stick, a compression green stick. You'll have bicortical fractures with the length maintained, and then you have the bayonet type of fractures. Directional pattern, apex volar is more common, less deformity eventually. Apex dorsal is less common, but you end up with more deformity and the forearm is pronated. Management, torus fractures are treated in a simple below elbow splint, 2 to 3 weeks, they all heal well, you'll have never any problems. Green stick fractures are reduced when the angulation is greater than 25 degrees. Dr. Binoti already spoke on reducing these, I'm not going to touch on them. Casting, everybody speaks about the cast index. You know that greater than 0.8, they initially said 0.7, they revised it to 0.8, leads to redisplacement, so you need to learn how to put on a good cast. Well-molded short-arm casts are as good as long-arm ones. You really don't need to put an above-elbow cast for these, and there's enough evidence for that. This was a 7-year-old. This is from Dr. Premal. Very severe bilateral distal radius fractures. What did he do? It looks ghastly, right? So he took it, usual Premal, took it to theatre, evaluated in every position, and this was the best position he got. Casted the child at 1 week. This was the X-ray. At 2 weeks, there was still dorsal displaced angulation on this side. The other side looked fairly okay. And then see what happens. On cast removal, there's still a little malunion. But as you go down the line, it really remodels beautifully. So this is what a distal radius does. And clinically, of course, the child is doing really well. And this was from Premal. So you can see that these fractures do very well non-operatively. So when do we operate? Usually in the older child, there's a complete dislocation to begin with, translation of the fractures more than 50%. We are not able to achieve a good reduction, can happen if it's a floating elbow, segmental fracture, open fractures, or there's post-soft tissues. These are the indications for surgery. This is a type 2, treated with a single pin going across the physis, and then goes on to heal well, pin was removed. Question is, do pins cause a growth arrest? It's unclear. We always use smooth pins. Threaded pins will obviously cause more damage. 1 pin is usually sufficient for these fractures. You don't have to put multiple pins. Avoid multiple attempts. Always follow up till maturity. This is a 4-year-old child. Comes with this fully dorsally displaced fracture. I'm sorry that both the AP and the lateral look like an AP. So what do? you hyperextend the fracture. You don't try and reduce it volarly, you actually dorsiflex it more, and then you walk the distal fragment to reduce it. And then I put in 2 pins, avoiding the physis. This was done years ago. The physis are left untouched and goes on to heal well. Now I know that just 1 pin would have been enough, or you do an intrafocal pinning. This is a 9-year-old boy, again with a similar fracture, reduced similarly, and then a pin was put in across from the epiphysis to the physis, went on to heal well, and luckily no physeal injury. And now we come to intrafocal pinning. Sheetal is sitting here. This is from his paper. This is a good way to avoid the physis completely. This is an 8-year-old child with this dorsally displaced fracture. You put in a pin into the proximal fragment, bend it down, and just the pin goes right into the proximal fragment. You're not touching the distal one at all. You're not touching the physis, and they go on to heal well, and you get a good result. And that's the clinical result. Polytrauma. You have a supracondyle, you have a distal radius. Obviously, you need to fix them. You're not going to treat this conservatively. So that's how it's fixed. A little malrotation in the supracondyle, but accepted. And then goes on to heal well. Open fractures is another indication to fix them. You can't treat these closed. This was a 10-year-old boy, left wrist and forearm injury, bleeding, deformity, circulation was intact. The neurology was not assessed, but that was the picture. And then the ulnar injury was ligated, the ulnar artery was ligated, the ulnar nerve was intact, bruised, no distal neurological deficit, radial pulse was palpable. This is how it is fixed. And then the child went on to do well with no residual problems. So this is another reason for fixing these fractures. What are the complications we expect? You have redisplacement, malunion, physeal arrest, non-union infection. At least in my practice, what I have seen, any or all of them are usually iatrogenic. Okay. Very rarely have I had any which were treated well and then went on to give any of these complications. Redisplacement 20 to 30% rate according to various studies. Initial displacement greater than 50%. Accuracy of reduction and associated ulnar fractures are the most significant. What many studies have now found that cast index, gap index, and 3-point index have less significance. That does not mean that you put a poor cast. You still have to do a good cast. Age, sex, fracture angulation, obliquity have no relevance. Physeal arrest, you can get a physeal injury when the fracture is intraphyseal, or more commonly what we see is the iatrogenic ones. Physeal injury in an 11-year-old child. This girl was a tennis player, and she had a trivial injury. She thought it was while playing tennis, it was like a wrist sprain, didn't have an X-ray. 6 months later, she started having a deformity, and about a year later, she came to me with this X-ray, and she had probably a type 5 injury which went undiagnosed, and this was the presentation. She had an obvious deformity, shortening of the radius, and a bridge. I did a ulnar shortening, fixed the ulnar, and then did a radial lengthening and fixed the radius with a lock plate. And that was her follow-up X-ray after 3 years or 4 years, and that's the clinical presentation. She's got a good result. Little shortening of the right forearm. Iatrogenic, this is from Dr. Venkatadass. 12-year-old with a closed injury, had a closed reduction, percutaneous pinning with 3 pins. Remember I said that 1 pin is usually enough in most of these cases. 6 weeks later, the pins were removed, and then 2 years later, you can see this deformity. And then that had to be revised in a very similar fashion to what I had done, and that child had a good result eventually. Infection and non-union, again, mostly caused by surgery rather than anything else. 11-year-old with a closed injury. Post-casting, I think most of us would now know that this is quite acceptable in an 11-year-old. But in a very big teaching hospital in my city, this was done on the same day. 3 weeks later, this was the picture. 7 weeks post-op, you can see there was no union. There was infection. 8 weeks, they quietly removed the pins and told the child that everything will be okay. 1 month later, came back like this, and you can see this dorsal incision that they had done to do an open induction. Radius was pulled to length, did an autograph and ulnar plating, 3 months post-op. The child is healed and done well. And that's the clinical picture now. This is a 15-year-old last case. 15-year-old male fell from a tree and injured his wrist, had an open fracture which is initially treated natively. After 3 months, he went to the local hospital with deformity, pain, and stiffness in the wrist. And this was his X-ray. And this again was done at a teaching hospital. They did a DAREX. and this is what he was left with. After 6 months, he presented with a stiff, painful, and a still deformed wrist. This was his X-ray at this time, and the CT scan, which really didn't provide me much information. What I did was an external fixator with differential distraction, both ulnar side and radial side, pulled it out to some sort of length at 3 weeks, and then did a grafting and K-wave fixation. At 6 weeks, it sort of healed well, and 3 months later, he had a good result. So in conclusion, identify pattern, type of injury, reduce in 1 or 2 attempts in facial injuries especially, look for an early loss of reduction, so follow these children up carefully. Keep a long-term follow-up for growth arrest where you have a facial injury or when you put pins across the physis. Remember, I don't fix is as important as I fix. Thank you very much.